Welcome back to Nightly Nonsense, where we try to make some sense out of the nonsense. Sometimes I take sense and make nonsense out of the sense, but we're trying to kind of go through, sift through some of the things that are out there. How do we make some sense out of everything that's going around us? We're on this intentionality kick, and I want to talk about something that we don't talk a lot about. That's intentionality, intentional in our compliments of people. It is such a natural thing to just respond to people and whatever they respond to us with, right? How often does somebody say, I love you, and you're just, I love you too? It just comes out. But we are not necessarily intentional about whether in that moment I actually even love the person. I'm just basing it on what I assume. Of course I love you, right? There's a lot of moments where maybe we've told somebody that we love them, and it probably isn't a love moment, right? If somebody's in the middle of doing something, right, that they shouldn't be doing, is that a moment where we necessarily tell them, hey, I love you, in such a way that it makes them feel like whatever they're doing is okay? Now the problem is, at the basis of this, I love you. I do. I'm supposed to love you. 1 Corinthians 13, no matter what you do, I have to love you in this way. But sometimes it says, love always trusts, right? Love is always protective. Love is always truthful, right? Love rejoices in the truth. And so when we get there, we think about compliments and we think about what we say to people in reaction to what they've done or what they're saying to us. And love is always truthful. Now, listen, I'm not going down this thing where you withhold love for people because you don't feel like it. Love's not a feeling, and you can say, I love you back to anybody. You ought to be able to do that, right? But we need to be truthful in what we're saying. How about, I love you, but what you're doing right now isn't making me happy. It's not a God thing, right? Think often of people who, they're doing things, and they're doing things out of their own strength. And it's looking like that, right? It's looking like this is not a God-inspired moment, but this is you're doing this out of your own strength. Being a teacher, somebody who talks a lot, right? There's a lot of times where I'm talking just to talk. And I'm not talking and really giving people any real information or help. I'm just talking a whole bunch of words, and I hope at the end of it, they just value my time. Like, oh, and he spent an hour and 45 minutes with us. Could have got it done in 5 minutes, but he spent an hour and 45 minutes. What did he talk about? Well, nothing that's important, right? If you're going to say that to somebody else, please don't compliment me and say, hey, it was great. It was great spending time with you. Thanks, got a lot out of this. If you didn't get a lot out of it, wouldn't it be more beneficial to say, hey, Andy, the next time we could do this in like 10 minutes? Sometimes we're affirming what people are doing, and that's not what we want to do. God loves us enough that he doesn't do that. He never sits there and says, great job, when great job isn't what really happened. Sometimes we spend tons of time with people, and it's all about us. We never took care of that person one iota of one moment. You and I have been in those situations where we're talking to somebody, right? Or actually they're talking at us, and they never ask us a single thing about how are you. Now I hope that you do that. I hope the people that you love, right, that you ask them simple questions like, really, how are you today? How are you really today? What's going on today? Right? But I hope that when we compliment people, when we say to people, great job, that we really mean great job, because that person is taking that compliment. They're going to build off of that. Hey, what I just did was great. What if it's not great? Now, being a people pleaser, this is something that really hits home and convicts me. I love to see people smile, love to see people happy, love to see people affirmed, right? There's a lot of times where I've said, hey, great job, right? When what I really mean is great job with the effort. Thanks. I appreciate your effort. I appreciate you were willing to do this. I'm not talking about what they said, but I don't differentiate that. So somebody comes up with a topic and they present it, and I say great job, and they assume like this is great truth. And then they go present it to someone else, or they Facebook it, or they do something with it, and other people go, wait, what is it? That's wrong. That's totally wrong. What you're saying is not right. Right? Again, sometimes we tell people that they look great when they don't. And really, it would be more beneficial if we said to them, hey, what's up? What's wrong today? I see your countenance is sad and you've not been like this with me before. I've never seen this look. So sometimes compliments get in the way of ministry. Like, how about if I'm intentionally trying to take care of you? If somebody looks like they just rushed out the door and threw stuff on and put themselves together so they could get where they needed to get to, why would we look at them and say to them, man, you look great today? Because that's not how they feel, and that's probably not what they're thinking. Now, again, we don't walk up to people and say, you look terrible today. We don't walk up to people and say, like, oh, you know, the world's ending for you. We just be careful what we're saying. We're intentional. The Bible's not full of a bunch of things where God puts a bunch of fluff out there and says, oh, you guys are doing such a great job. It's great. Go ahead, serve those idols and serve me. It's great. And Jesus didn't walk around and say to his disciples that they were great when they weren't. He looked at them and said, how long do I got to be with you guys? Right? You're not getting it. So sometimes, right, we need to be intentional. What are we really trying to compliment people on? What are we really trying to say to people? But then we got to think through our words. We got to be intentional about our words. We got to be intentional about our actions and our thoughts. And it all ties together. The things that we're intentional about, good fruit's going to come out of that. That's what we want, right? We want to be intentional about our compliments, what we're saying to people, how we're encouraging them, right? We're going to leave it right there. I hope that you got some things to think about. Hope that you have some things to chew on as you, right, contemplate, am I intentional in my compliments to other people? See you next time, Nightly Nonsense.